everybody. I'm Katie. I am the head of Bookmobile Services for the Beverly Public Library. And welcome back to the Quarantine Kitchen. Well, folks, I went outside the other day to take my trash outside and I discovered something. Spring is here, apparently, while we've been gone, and spring means berries, so I thought this was the perfect opportunity to show you how to make your own berry cobbler. This recipe comes from the food blog Sally's Baking Addiction. We will link the recipe in the description box below. Definitely check it out. It is a great recipe and a great food blog for learning new techniques. So I really hope that you'll dive right in and try this. A word of caution though, if you are feeling sick, you should not be making food for other people. You should be in bed. If you are feeling good, I'm feeling a-okay, then let's wash our hands for 20 seconds at least and get started. All right, let's get started. You are going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you are going to grease a 13 by 9 inch baking pan. This is a standard cake pan. All right, you will need 8 cups of berries, and to that you are going to add a 1/4 cup of sugar. You're going to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, it's doing its job a little early by thickening in there, and you are going to add a teaspoon of lemon juice and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Then you are going to mix all of these together. The nice thing, one of the nice things about this recipe is that you can use fresh or frozen berries. I was originally planning on making this cobbler with strawberries and rhubarb, but I couldn't find any fresh or frozen rhubarb, so I switched things up a bit. You can use whatever mixture of berries you want. So I have raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries in here. But you can do it, you do your thing. Nobody's judging you. It's your cobbler. You only have to please yourself and, you know, whoever else plans to eat the cobbler. So just get those nice and evenly coated. Then you're going to take your tray and you're just going to dump that all in there and kind of spread it out evenly inside your tray. Then you're going to set this aside for now. Okay, now we are going to make the topping, which is the biscuity part on top of the cobbler that makes it a cobbler. All right, so you are going to take 1.5 cups of flour, add it to a big bowl, and then you're going to add 1/3 cup of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then you're going to whisk these things together. Give the bowl a little toss so that you can feel like, you know, Gordon Ramsay or Emerald or Rachel Ray, whoever you want to feel like. Mary Berry, sure. All right, now here comes the fun part. You are going to take 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter that you have cubed into these adorable cubes, and you're going to add them to your bowl. Now, if you have one of these, this is called a pastry cutter or a pastry blender, and you are going to use this to blend the butter into the flour until it forms these little cubes. Now, if you don't have one of these, that's a-okay. what you can do is you can take 2 knives or 2 forks. I actually find that forks work better than knives, but again, you do you. Anyway, you're going to take 2 forks, and you can accomplish very much the same end with 2 forks. So you're going to kind of do this kind of a motion in there to blend, to kind of cut the butter up into little itty bitty pieces, like the size of a pea. And you're going to do that until they're all that size. I'm going to switch back to the pastry blender because it's a lot faster. And I figure you are in the mood for cobbler. You don't want to stand here and watch me blend this all day. So we're going to just get this done super quickly. One thing that I will note is that, and this applies for all pastries that you are adding butter to, so pie crust, biscuits, cobbler, you want your ingredients to be as cold as possible. If your butter is melting, you're gonna have a greasy result. But if you have really cold butter, then what's going to happen is it's going to, first of all, it's a little counterintuitive, but it's going to cut up better because it's not going to smear everywhere. And also, what happens is the butter mixes in with the flour and all the other ingredients. It gets in the oven, and then the heat from the oven causes the water in the butter to create steam, and that is what actually causes the flakiness in biscuits and pie crusts and cobblers. So anyway, that's your fun little science fact. And this is the perfect size. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to take a 1/2 cup of, again, cold buttermilk, very carefully, and I'm going to drizzle this in and mix it in. You don't want to mix this to within an inch of its life. You just want to mix it until it is coming together. If you overwork this, then you're going to wind up with kind of a heavier finished product than you want. So I'm going to okay, so maybe a pastry blender was not the smartest. Maybe I should have switched to a spoon at this point. So don't be like me. Switch to a spoon when you add your buttermilk. Okay, so again, cold buttermilk. Ooh, and if you don't have buttermilk, that's fine. Take some milk and add a teaspoon of lemon juice or vinegar, and let it sit for 5 minutes. This is a tip from Sally's Baking Addiction. Let it sit for 5 minutes, and it's going to curdle the milk, and that will create a similar thing to buttermilk. Okay, so I'm happy with how this looks. This is how it looks. Now, you're going to, remember this? You're going to take this back, and you are going to get your hands dirty. We like to get our hands dirty around here. Kind of be quick about this because your hands are warm and it's going to melt the butter. Mix it, give it a little mix to incorporate, make it a dough. And then what you're going to do is you're going to be bold and brave with me, like you always are. And you're going to just grab up a handful of this dough, and you're going to kind of flatten it out. And you're just going to form a little disc. Like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you are going to lay this in your dish right on top of those berries. And you're going to continue to do this until there is no dough left. We have spread out all of our cobbler dough on top of the berries. Look how pretty it looks. And this is an optional extra step, but if you have this stuff and you want to get fancy, go for it. So, in order to get like a shinier, crunchier crust, you take a tablespoon of buttermilk and a little brushy thing, and you brush the tops of the dough with buttermilk. Again, optional, you do you, no one's judging you. You are already doing your part to flatten the curve by staying home, and you know what? So you already get an A+++. So if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. Okay, so we have brushed the tops. Woo! And that's what it looks like. Then, if you happen to have some coarse sugar, you want to take this from good to great, sprinkle a little bit of sugar over top. It's going to be good. All right, so your oven is now preheated to 350 degrees. You are going to bake this for 45 minutes, and then I would check it and see. It depends on your oven. I would check and see how it's looking. You want these to be golden brown. You want to be able to stick a cake tester or a toothpick or something into these and have it come out clean. If that doesn't happen, just bake it for another 5 to 10 minutes until it looks perfect. And then if you want to go really wild, scoop this out, put some vanilla ice cream on it, and go to town celebrating spring with this berry cobbler. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you try this, please take a photo, tag us. All of our social media information is in the description box down below. And I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.